We're gonna kill some people today. Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Different Breed, aka the Deathbringer, and today we're going to be going over how to play as a killer in Dead by Daylight. Now please forgive me as I record this because this is the second time I'm recording this since I've already done this, but my computer was like, not today, I'm not going to record any audio for you. So we got some gameplay with no audio on it, so bear with me as I try to explain what I was explaining in the video. But if you find any of this information informative to you, hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, consider subscribing. I will be posting some Dead by Daylight gameplay in the future. Now I do want to note before we start that this is just a killer guide. I'm not going to be going over any of the menus or any options there, or how to play Survivor or any of that. If you want to know more information about those things, check out my other two videos. And without any further ado, let's get to killing. So in order to get on to killing, you're going to need to find the survivors. So let's go over how to find said survivors. The beginning game is pretty simple. Everybody is going to be doing generators, really. They're going to be wanting to fix these generators and get on out. So all you really have to do is patrol the generators. Now the generators' aurors are shown to you, and you can see all the generators that are on the map. It's pretty obvious that they are these red outlines. All you need to do is walk around, look at each generator, listen and hear if it's actually being worked on or not. And I guarantee that you'll eventually run into one that is being worked on, and you'll most likely find the survivors. Now there's definitely more ways than just looking at generators to find survivors. Survivors can leave behind a trail either by destroying your totems, throwing down pallets, dropping your hooks, making noise some other way, or sprinting. Now we can see this generator being worked on because the pistons are moving up and down, and also we can hear it, but unfortunately we can't right now because the audio didn't cover, but whatever. So we found our first survivor. Now these red/orange colored scratches that are being left everywhere is because the survivor is sprinting. Now there are many ways to follow a survivor. You can either look for the blood that they're dropping if they're injured. You can listen for them to be whining if they're injured, or you could just try and look for them whether they're injured or not. These scratches will also happen whether they're injured or not. And when you're chasing a survivor, usually they make noise by jumping over something or throwing something down. That will also alert you and you'll know whereabouts in the direction that you should be headed into. But once you get on a survivor, you really want to just try and get them down as quickly as possible, which I mean is kind of the name of the game, so I don't really got to tell you that. So once you have hit them twice in whichever way that you need to do that, it is time to pick them up and bring them over to a hook. So simply walk over them, hit the button to pick them up, and carry them over to a hook. Now you have to be careful. You don't want to carry over them long distance because they can wiggle out of your grasp. There is a few ways that the survivors can get out of your grasp. They can either have another survivor blind you with a flashlight. They can have another survivor drop a pallet on you, which stuns you, making you drop the survivor. Or they can simply wiggle out of your grasp after a certain amount of time. After you've hooked your survivor, you want to start looking for the other ones. Don't be that one that camps the one survivor. Just walk around and you're on your next hunt. So here's exactly what I was talking about, the scratches that we see everywhere. We just saw the survivor there, so we know we're headed this way, and we can see the scratches, and we can see which way they're going. So just follow those scratches and try and catch up to them. So some of the best advice that I can give to you is to not rely on those scratches. Try and follow the person themselves, and use the scratches as more of a guide if you lose the survivor. Speaking of losing the survivor, let's go into ways that the survivor can actually lose you. The one main option that you will see the most is them throwing down pallets. Now these won't exactly lose you right away, but it could cause you to lose sight of the survivor if you get stunned by him. And then they can scurry along the way and find a nice hiding spot, or just be able to turn the corner and get away from you. Even if you don't get stunned, it can slow you down, causing you to either have to break the pallet or try and go around it. And sometimes going around it, you can lose the survivor because they can go the opposite way that you're going. Another way they can lose you is by hiding from you. They can either hide in close proximity of you, so you want to make sure that you look all around you, but you don't want to look and take too long. So it's kind of tricky to determine how long you should actually be looking or how in depth. Another way is they can hide in these lockers. Now with these, they can just jump right on in them. If they're injured, you can hear them when they're inside the locker. But if they're not, there's no indication that any survivor is in there. But you can search the lockers, just go up to them and open them up. If nobody is in them, you'll just swing the doors around, which will take time and give the survivors time to get more further away from you. But if there is somebody in there, you'll pick them up right away, no matter if they're injured or not. Another way a survivor can get away, which is something that I mentioned before, is blinding you. Survivors can blind you with a flashlight. And if you're carrying somebody, you will drop that somebody that you are carrying. Now here's my attempt to have this person blind me, however, she couldn't figure out how to use the flashlight. But fear not, because I played several more games and I ran into somebody who knew how to use the flashlight more. So to avoid a flashlight blind, all you have to do is look up. You can look left or right, but looking up is your best bet. You'll still get hit with the effect as shown here, however, they won't hit you long enough to drop the survivor. Another way that the survivors use the blinding technique is to blind you as you're breaking down the pallet that they just threw down. This technique is used to allow the survivors to move in a direction when you cannot see them. The only way to avoid this is to not break down the pallet, because you're forced to look in a certain direction while the animation of you breaking down the pallet is finishing. Another way survivors can get out of your grasp is prolonging the distance that you have to travel in order to hook them. They can do this by having their teammates body block for them, meaning that the teammates literally stand right in front of you and prevent you from either walking forward or hooking the survivor. To counteract that, just hit them. After they get injured, if they're smart enough, they'll move. The other way that they can prolong the distance is to break the hooks. Now to do this, they go up to the hook and just work on it. So if you see your survivor at the base of one of your hooks, stop them. Now don't be too worried, because these hooks do respawn after some time. The only hooks that don't respawn are the ones that you just killed somebody on. Now, survivors are not the only ones that can prolong things. We as killers can also prolong things. What we want to do is prolong the time that the survivors are within our arena. One way to do this is obviously to kill some of the survivors, making it harder for the other survivors to complete the generators. But with all the survivors alive, we can prolong them being in our arena by stopping their progression on the generators. We can see what their progression on the generators are just by looking at them. So the generators have 4 pistons, and the more the generator is fixed, the more pistons are moving. It's really easy to stop their progression. All you have to do is go up to it and hit the button to damage it. That knocks a little progression down and then also regresses the progression. So now it is constantly going down until the survivors touch it again. It also leaves this effect right here, letting you know that it is currently in regression and nobody has touched it. Speaking of generators, this symbol right here means that the generator has been 100% completed. This shows you exactly where the generator just got completed, and it also lets you know where at least one survivor is. And this is a perfect segue into talking about what else you'll be seeing. Sticking with generators, as mentioned before, you can see the auroras of all the generators on the map. That way you know exactly where to patrol and which ones are still up. Another thing that you can see is your totems if they are hexed. And moving on to the other things that pop up, this symbol can mean a number of things. Either somebody has dropped your hook, they've took out your totem, they've taken out your hexed totem, they've made sound, they abruptly stopped searching a chest, or they have failed a skill check. Any one of those actions will cause this symbol to happen, which then lets you know that somebody is in that area. That symbol pops up exactly where the player did the action. When all the generators are completed, the exit gates will power on and you'll be notified about where they are. That's what these 2 symbols are. So pick the one that you think the survivors are gonna be at and stop them from opening it up, because all they have to do is hold down the switch for 20 seconds and then the doors will be opened up and they can escape. Another way the survivors can escape is through the hatch. Now this opens up when only one survivor is left in the arena. If you want to know more about the hatch, check out my survivor guide, but it is ideal to find the hatch before the survivor does. So if you're walking around looking for it, this is what you want to listen for. Minus the music. A couple ways to avoid the survivor escaping from the hatch. You either have to stop them before they get to the hatch, or you can actually grab them as they're jumping through the hatch. Now grabbing them is definitely a difficult task, at least I feel like it is. So you really want to stop them before they get there. But it is possible to grab them as they're jumping through the hatch. So now that we know how to play the game, let's talk about leveling up so we can play against better people. As the killer, you have 4 categories to level up. Those are brutality, deviousness, hunter, and sacrifice. The brutality category is all about getting at the survivor, catching them like we just did, hitting them, making them quit, stuff like that. Destruction of pallets and generators are also in that category. Then you have the devious category, which is based on a killer's ability. So if you use something like the huntress's hatchets or the hillbilly's chainsaw, that is part of the devious category. Also bleeding and a survivor dying from being downed is in the category as well. Hunter is kind of pretty obvious. It's all about finding the survivor and chasing them. Sacrifice is also kind of obvious. It's about hooking the player and getting them to die on the hook. The more you do these things in each category, the faster you'll level up. The levels go from 20 to 1, and to level up, you're trying to collect these things called pibs. The most you can collect is 2 in one game. If you look at the bar right here, you'll see there's a black pib a regular one, and a regular one. Now, if you get in between the black pib and the first regular pib, nothing happens to your rank. You don't rank up, but you also don't rank down. If you get below the black pib, you start getting pibs taken away from your current rank, and you start ranking down. If you get above the first one, you got your first pib, which will be added to your current rank. And if you get to the second one, you'll obviously get them both. And as you can see here, I collected 3 pibs for my rank, and I ranked up to level 19. And that is your basic killer guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot, or at least something. If you did, let me know in the comments below. If I missed anything, which I probably did, let me know in the comments below as well. That way we can keep this up to date so those who don't know also get informed. And if there's anything else that you want to know, let me know. So if you enjoy this so much and you want to help support, hit the sub button, hit that like button. Those 2 things are free. You can also check out the links in the description. I look forward to hearing from you on this and also my other videos. And until next time, stay different, everybody.